the lady upstairs with the dog's bark, I noticed the dog barked immediately. I turned the camera on. And the lady upstairs has been sick. She's not a young lady, and she's had cancer for many years and has been treated for this. And every so often she gets a scan, and the scan came up with a bad result. And I noticed her car wasn't there, so I don't normally worry about her, yet we're here to be concerned about our neighbours, and so I sent her a message to say, is she okay? I didn't notice her car's not here. And the lady next door to me, she came yesterday and said she was a bit worried about her. I said, no, she'll be all right. And today I checked it out. And so she has been going through some problems, but also she's been coming to meet. Coming to meet is you meet your opposite, and you have to maybe have a bit of an argument or altercation with them, and then go your ways. And apparently she had this experience with one of the other neighbours, the dark side, because there are dark sides to every place. Yeah, we're together with the light and the dark in the same place. Yeah, it's a balance. And so she had come to meet. I don't disturb. I've learned not to disturb the dark side. Some of us are still learning this. Anyway, she had a bad experience, and her car, somebody keyed her car, scratched the car. And so she's been having to live with this difficult physical health news and difficult spiritual experience news in her life. And I feel we're probably all going through a bit of this. I had a bit of this yesterday, a little bit, where I had to find myself disturbing the dark side a little bit. I'm an expert at it these days because I can go da-da-da and leave quickly before things get beyond the point. So I've done my work without disturbing too much and left them to absorb whatever it was that was said. Now, I think we're all having this experience right now. And so I share this with you. You may also be having this experience, and it's good to understand what's going on. Now, in my last video, I talked about the avatar synthesis and the actual nature of the work of the avatar synthesis. And the avatar synthesis is simply a level on the pathway on the great chain of being. It passes through messiahship into avatar synthesis ship. And if you want to understand that pathway a little bit more, if you're led to that pathway, and you'll only be led to that pathway through many, many junior steps, if you like, where you become a master. And so there's a book. The first book I came across like this was written by Rudolf Steiner. And Rudolf Steiner made organizations, yeah, and so he was kind of like a dark Tohunga, a dark master. Yet the dark masters produce useful things on the pathway, and he produced some writings which I was exposed to when I needed them. They came into my hands, and I was able to use those writings to get me through the steps, the lower steps on the journey. But when it comes to the highest level steps on the pathway to the avatar synthesis, then you need this book, okay? The Masters and the Path, C.W. Ledbetter. And so the reason I share this with you is because perhaps there's more than one avatar synthesis. As there's more than one Messiah. Many Messiahs appeared at the time of Jesus. After Jesus passed on, other people stood up and became the same, really. Yet he was the key to it all. Yeah. Now, C.W. Ledbetter is the key to the avatar synthesis. And he was a product, there's another book here, of the Victorian age, because the Victorian age produced a great revolution in the material sciences of the world, and it also produced a great revolution in the spiritual sciences with the advent of the Theosophical Society. Now, the Theosophical Society started off like the natural order of poets, bards and druids. It was a society of people gathered together with like minds, yet it made some fundamental mistakes right at the beginning. Is that it formed into an actual organisation, and it had a constitution, it had laws and rules and stuff like that. And once you start that, it's the end of it. And so, although it tried to be as good an organisation as it could, it was still an organisation, and all organisations are false. Yeah. And they all get taken over by the dark side, because that's the destiny of organisations. The dark side has to prove that they're no good. You can't have it. You can't have organisation. Nature is self-organising. Yeah. And C.W. Ledbetter was not an organiser. There was a partner he worked with, and I can never remember her name. Whenever I try to remember her name, I get Alice Bailey. Alice Bailey comes up. But Alice Bailey must have been a good toehanger. And this other lady must have been an organiser, T.W. Ledbetter. And now her name comes to me because I need it for the video, Annie Besant. Now, Annie Besant was a good person, yet she thought that she could organise the world into a better place. Now, if she hadn't organised it the way she did, C.W. Ledbetter would never have found a home in it, because he was more like me. Yeah, he was kind of like wandering freely as a holy man. Yeah, and was taken into the Theosophical Society because it was there at the time. And without C.W. Ledbetter and Annie Besant making the organisation, there would have been no Krishnamurti. Krishnamurti is a product of that. They discovered the Messiah Krishnamurti, and he lived to prove that that's what he was. And how did he prove it? By his work. His work is there for anybody to look at, and it simply proves that he is what he is, what they said he was, what C.W. Ledbetter said but he is. He is the world teacher of that time, right? Now, Jesus Christ was the world teacher 2,000 years ago. C.W. Ledbetter was something else, you know. And at the time of Jesus, there was another man, John. John was more mystical than Jesus. And he prepared the way for Jesus, yeah. Some people think John and Jesus is the same thing. Yeah. If you read the Gospel of John, you can see how that might be the case. The Gospel of John is an important book. It's necessary first starting point for the journey. All the masters, all of the great masters that ever came after Jesus studied the Gospel of John, and the book of Revelation too. These are important starting points. Yet there are other books on the way. The book of Enoch is a very important book. Another important book which teaches us about the true organisation of the church is the Shepherd of Hermas. C.W. Ledbetter, the important book that I found earlier on in the journey. At the time I found Steiner, I think it was a little bit Steiner. It was the same time as Steiner's book. I forget the name of the Steiner book, but you come across it. It talks about the levels on the pathway. I found C.W. Ledbetter's book, Man, Whence, How and Whither. And this is an important starting point for C.W. Ledbetter's writings. And the last book that came to me on the final stage of the journey was this book, okay, The Masters and the Path. Now, before this book came to me, I had already experienced the initiation of the avatar synthesis. It's actually an event in the life of the initiate. And as is every movement through the step, it's actual experience of the initiate. A reality that the initiate experiences to understand what he has become. Okay? And this experience was greater than the Adam experience, greater than when I woke up and knew I was Adam. This experience was the birth of the avatar synthesis. And I had this experience all by myself, in the middle of the Sahara Desert, just sleeping in a sand dune, off to one side, off the road. It's not allowed to sleep in the Sahara Desert, in Morocco or wherever it was that I was at the time, probably Morocco. And so you're already doing something illegal. And in the night, sleeping in the pristine environment of the desert, I had the experience of Krishnamurti, Sai Baba and Adamai of Light all being joined into one to become the avatar synthesis. That's all I could do to describe it. And so it was a real experience. It took me, that's maybe 5 years ago, possibly 6 years ago, 5 years, 6 years. Yet the completion of that step on the pathway was only completed about a year ago. And this book was part of that completion. Some of the information in this book was necessary to understand what had happened to me. Now, there may be other people who need to take the initiation of the avatar synthesis and do the kind of work that I'm doing now in the future. I don't know how far in the future. This was written, when was this written, The Master and the Path, C.W. Ledbetter? Probably in the 1920s. First published in 1925. Okay. And at that time, they were seeding. They talk about in the theosophical teachings, the seed Manu and the root Manu and all this kind of stuff. They were seeding the new root race. And so they had a job to do. Yeah. And their work is very important. And they must have had to raise themselves up through all these levels to actually know and be able to produce these books, to produce the map of the pathway for those who are following them. And so that's what I'm giving in this video. I'm just saying, for those that follow this journey, that it's a real journey. You can take the initiation of the avatar of synthesis and then become the avatar of synthesis. He incarnates, uses your vehicle to deliver a teaching to humanity, trains you up, trains you up, takes you through a whole training process, leads you from information, to realization, gives you personal understandings in the middle of the night, guides you to be able to deliver a work for humanity. Just like C.W. Ledbetter delivered his works for humanity, and there's a great number of them. Yeah, these people weren't inactive. Yeah, there's work to be done, and so the proof of that they are who they say they are, or didn't say they were. Many of them don't say anything about their own personal pathway. Is in their works, And you will know the master by his works, just as you know the master architect by the buildings he made or the bridges he built, the master engineer by the locomotives he designed and produced, the electronics engineer by his great integrated circuits. By his electric cars, or his SpaceX projects. And the master of wisdom you know by his wise words, recorded in books, in artworks, in videos. Michelangelo did some very great teachings as part of his artwork. You can learn many things that you don't know about the spiritual world by studying the paintings of Michelangelo. This is a very great artist here. I forget his name. There's a message. That's my lady, and she says, "I love you." She says, "I love you." Okay. Now we have to pass through. This is a level of initiation on the pathway of the divine couple. Yeah. So besides all the personal stuff, there's couple initiations and couple levels, and this is one level of the couple. And in this case, you have to kill the eagle. You have to kill the eagle. Now, it's funny because there's signs in the universe, yeah, that we would as a couple do this together. There was a sign once, which this painting always reminds me of, because I had this experience of standing on this eagle that was alive, wounded, And just like that, I had that actual experience. And I'll tell you what happened. I can place the age because it was when I was in England when I was a child, so I couldn't have been older than 10, maybe between 8 and 10 years old. And the next door neighbours had just bought a pellet gun, and they were in their garden on the other side of the street, actually our back garden, it was our back garden, yeah. But in their street, the back garden, it beeped again. I need to say I love you back, because you shouldn't allow your lady to say I love you without saying I love you back, because otherwise there's no balance in the couple. Okay. Now, I went to the neighbour's house, and they were shooting with this pellet gun, and I wanted to have a go, but everybody wanted to have a go. Yeah, it was like the novelty of the day. Oh, please give me a go. And they're all shooting and carrying on with the thing. Eventually, after pestering them for hours, they gave me the gun. And I was a very unusual child. So I got the gun in my hand, and as I got the gun in my hand, this eagle flew across the sky, and I didn't aim it. I just pointed the gun at the eagle and pulled the trigger, and the eagle fell out of the sky. It fell out of the sky, right at my feet. Yeah, in the road, and it was like just like that, with its wings going, its head up. It was dying. It needed to be put out of its misery. It wasn't going to fly again, put it that way. Yeah. Terrible experience. It was terrible. And I had a boomerang. I used to make boomerangs when I was a child. I was like a kind of a scientist when I was a child. I was the only child I know that made a boomerang that worked and ever thought of making a boomerang that worked. I used to throw these boomerangs, and they used to go and come back, but you couldn't catch them because you get your head chopped off with the ones I used to make. They were like pretty vicious things. And so I had the boomerang in my hand, and I tried to kill the eagle with the boomerang, put it out of its misery. That's what I wanted. The only thought that came into my mind. And I think they took me away from it and separated me from the eagle, and somebody else dealt with it. Yeah. So I said, "Oh, it's illegal to kill eagles." What do you do? I don't know. I had to do it because it was a prophecy that God made that I would destroy the eagle. Okay, and I think I just did that in this work. This prophecy has been realized in the videos that I've made. That eagle is dead in the water. And I noticed some videos I watched in the last few days that people are carrying around the Union Jack upside down. Now the slaves are on top, the stripes are the slaves, and the stars are below. And they're still flying that big star that's on top of everything, that's surrounded by stripes. That big star, which is the big boss of all in Israel, they're still flying that flag over there. You can't turn that flag upside down, yeah? That's the funny thing, you can't turn that flag upside down. There's not many flags that you can't turn upside down. Oh, maybe you can. Maybe it's like NATO and OTAN. No, it's not. I think it's a six-pointed star, and you turn it upside down, it's still a six-pointed star. It doesn't change its face. It's interesting. Never thought of that before. I'll take 5. Right, now whilst I was watching that back, my the dog's barking, One lady sent me a message. She never sends me messages like this. This is the first time I've ever got a message like this. She got a message from somebody, and they say, please share this post. And so she shared it with me. She never does this. She just did it. Because I have to share it on this video, because this is the dark side, okay? Now, the dark side has their place. They're achieving something. And they're fighting, you know, they're fighting one against the other. Yet you have to fight to get somewhere on this pathway. You have to become part of the fight to learn a lesson ultimately that you don't fight. Yeah. You can't stop the fighting. You can't say, don't fight. Like Gandhi got assassinated because he stopped the fighting. Yeah. He thought the fighting was no good. No, Gandhi's done his job. Now the fighters stand up and do their job. Yeah. And you've got to accept that after the peaceful Messiah comes the fighting Messiah, you know. The Monimos of this world. So anyway, I'll read you what it says. It says, in Germany, it was the week of concealing the problem. While people were groped in every swimming pool and lashing out with knives and axes in every possible place, the numerous propagandists went full throttle with their twisting of the facts. The message, Germans do it too, and it's precisely the refugees they're targeting. In addition to this disinformation, there were also cancellations, and this time even the counter radio program. NGOs and the city government in progressive Constance managed to prevent our cosy boat trip on Lake Constance. Of course, we went anyway. We were there with the ostracized celebrities, Peter Hahn, Ulrich Vosgerau and Marcus Wahlfeld. Incidentally, we had already met Mick Knauf and Anna Nugent in Frankfurt. Please share this post, subscribe to this channel. The Digital Service Act is significantly limiting our reach. And above all, donate, give them money, to offset the losses from the cancelled Reader boat trip. As always, you can find Arkham Winter on X at Arkham Winter _. Now, these people operating in a group, they have an organisation, they've got a plan, they've got ideas and so on. They haven't learned yet all organisations are false. Yet, they're doing a good thing countering even worse organisations. Okay. God raises an organisation up to learn, not to be organisations. And raise a counter organisation up, also to learn the same thing, but even worse. And now he brings them in a fight together, one to eliminate the other, one ideology against another ideology. And in the end we have to come to no ideology, which is what Krishnamurti taught. There can be no ideology. The ideology is just a thought in the mind. And the thought in the mind is a material object. That's interesting. It's just materiality. It's just being material. And you'll notice they're given here a whole list of all the people that they want you to worship in their group, all the names, to promote the names of certain people, and please give us money. Yeah. Now, a holy man never asks for anything. He can't ask for anything. A true poet, bard and druid in the natural order, you'll never find him ask for anything. And if you see somebody outside a supermarket with a hat wanting you to put money in, he's not a poet, bard or druid. None of those things. If he asks you for money, he's not. A poet, a bard and druid doesn't sit around doing nothing, waiting for food. You find his food on the way, yeah. And he might have a little tootle on his flute, on his flutel. Somebody gives him a couple of euro, bang, He's in the cafe drinking his cup of coffee or eating his sandwich, yeah, at the bakery buying his bun. That's good enough for a bard, poets and druids. But he's not asking you to donate. The people asking you to donate are the organisationists, and they have a plan to promote their organisation, and there may be good people start at the beginning, and then they all get kicked out. Look what happened to that guy, I never remember his name. I can remember Keir Starmer, but I can't remember the guy he kicked out of the Labour Party. I don't know. I don't know, all these organisations. So don't organise whatever you do. If you organise, you're interfering with the organisation of the universe. Okay. And if somebody says, pass some messenger on, please don't do it. Please don't do it. Please don't do what the organisationists ask you to do. Please don't obey any organisation. Please don't obey any organisation. Obey God. God is do what you feel like doing. And in this moment, Elizabeth felt more like anything else to send me this. Okay? And I say, she normally doesn't feel like that. She does what she feels like. And you can't criticise her for it. You can't say, Elizabeth, you shouldn't send this stuff. Because in this moment she needed to. And so ladies can be mysterious in the divine couple. They kind of know everything. They're in connection with the deepest knowledge. Sophia, the goddess of wisdom, the lady is. And the man is the Son of God, the Father. And that's a divine couple. A divine couple is the meeting of the two. Yeah. And I wish you all could experience a divine couple, because it's the most wonderful, wonderful thing in the universe. Thanks for watching.